Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, actually no, not with me today, is not Trevor Scott, because he's sick. He has the flu, and so he has asked me to do the podcast without him. So, this week I have a guest. I have Anthony from the Semicast. Welcome.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not sick, luckily.
No, then there would be nobody. It would just be me saying, "How do I do this?"
Hey, Anthony, can you do Bitstorm for us this week?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
That's okay.
You want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I run a site called Semi-Informatic with my friend Dave, and we play lots of video games, and we record videos of video games, and we talk about video games, and sometimes we do a podcast, but things have been a little bit busy of late, so we haven't gotten around to that as much, but there's sort of still some content going up here and there.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's you do a bunch of different stuff there. That's fun. Like, yeah, we just do this podcast.
We had some Twitch streams going for a while, but because of the Australian internet, I had to be very selective about, think games that have high contrast, so the compression doesn't get too bad was sort of my thing.
We actually did try that a couple of weeks ago. Trevor just got an Oculus Rift, so we attempted to do some VR streaming, and it went okay, but we did have to do it at 420p or something ridiculous, so you can't really see what's going on.
Yeah, I've actually got a original dev version of the Oculus Rift, and it was fun, but I'm kind of waiting for the big exciting games to come out.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff coming out now. I'm thinking of getting a Vive soon, hopefully. So
I would probably lean towards the Vive based on what I've seen.
That's my preference. The Oculus is cheaper, but the Vive, I don't know. I like the room scale stuff a bit better, and I've used it a few times at VR arcades and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I think we'll get into it. We're going to start with Click Pitch, as we always do. For those just joining us, including yourself, Anthony, Click Pitch is a game where we both have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will both click refresh and get a new word, and we're going to say those words and come up with a game design based on whatever comes to mind, basically, from the combination of those words. And we will go 3, 2, 1, click.
Nothingness.
Nothingness. My word is sulky. S-U-L-K-Y.
I'm seeing a very black and white game here, maybe some shades of grey.
Well, I'm thinking, so sulky, sulky just reminds me of teenagers, kind of brooding, sulky teenagers.
Kind of like life is strange, maybe.
Yeah, but then the nothingness, you could take that in a metaphorical sense, I guess, and just do a full-on teenage experience.
It's a game about writing teenage poetry.
Well, that could be interesting. The game has to kind of judge you on your, you get points for angst, points for rhyming, I suppose. I don't know. Just
points for using words you don't really understand.
Yeah, yeah. The amount of times you had to look up your thesaurus. I don't know if that gives you penalties or bonus points, but.
Yeah, you'd be pretty sure of your natural language processing programming abilities for this one. Oh
yeah. You'll soon see. We just come up with the ideas. The devs, they handle all the tech stuff. No, I initially actually went in a bit of a different direction for this, and sort of the idea of nothingness brought me to space or maybe black holes. And so I was thinking teenage planets or something, some sort of space.
There's actually an old pen and paper role-playing game called Teenagers from Outer Space.
Oh, there you go. Well, see, I was kind of thinking that the space entities themselves, like the planets or the suns and the black holes, perhaps have some sort of personality. I don't know, if a star reaches adolescence,
anthropomorphizing planets.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure quite where the gameplay comes in.
Jupiter is kind of like the big brother, and Pluto is the youngest child that everybody forgets all the time.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. yeah, just sort of a schoolyard representation of the solar system.
So we've had visual novels about pigeons and llamas. Maybe a visual novel that anthropomorphizes planets, where you go to a high school and there's all these planets.
Yep, that's perfect. And you're just trying to figure out who to date and who to make friends with.
Yeah,
Jupiter's the big bully. But he's only bullied because everyone always used to tease him about that big red spot on his head.
Yeah, that's...
Earth is teeming with parasites for some reason.
Yeah.
Nobody likes him.
Or Earth would be the default male, brown-haired main character that is sort of an everyman that everyone can relate to.
Right. Just the standard sulky young man who, yeah, for sure. I don't know, is there anyone else that's special? Venus is the hot one, obviously.
Mercury would be even hotter, but there has to be some kind of deficiency there, I guess, being so. I mean, what would the sun be? Would it be like this faculty or the teachers or something?
Yeah. I think that's the prince. The sun is the principal.
Right.
There's Haley, the comet, who just breezes in. That's the substitute teacher.
Well, I was thinking that might be the one who skips school all the time and only shows up every once in a while.
Just shows up every, 76 years or something.
Yes.
Oh, I like this. I don't know. Are we missing any good?
We're missing the moons, and I was trying to think of maybe little brothers or sisters or things like that. But
yeah, or like just maybe that's sort of the posse, because that makes sense. Like Jupiter, the big bully, has this huge posse. Of all his kind of henchmen, all his bully friends.
I would think that Saturn would have to be the pretty one because of the rings.
Yeah. And again, the sort of entourage of moon friends around it. Earth is sort of the cool guy. Well, and just has his one nerdy kind of sidekick.
Yeah. His one friend who's a bit smaller than him, but hangs around all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of can't get rid of him.
Neptune would be the deep cold one.
Oh yeah, that's like the kind of broody emo.
Yeah.
Sort of type.
We're staying away from Uranus, but that would probably be the butt of everyone's jokes, like the one that all the practical jokes get played on.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, that's really funny. I really like that.
But I'm struggling to think of any gameplay beyond a sort of a basic visual novel. Sort of, hey, look at this, it's weird.
Oh, I think that's about all you need. I don't know. Yeah, is there any sort of additional mechanics that you could bring in based on the fact that they're planets?
Yeah, well, usually these games move towards either a goal or a big event, like a school dance or a big test or something like that, and it sort of plays out kind of in acts like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any galactic events that can be sort of twisted into school sort of events, apart from the heat death of the universe. That's probably a little bit too final.
Yeah, I don't know what happens during an eclipse. I mean, that's only involving like the Earth and the Moon or whatever, and just the alignment of the planets. Like, there's something about the planets aligning, or maybe it's like maybe we bring in astrological sort of arrangements or something.
I was just thinking the same thing. Star signs.
Yeah,
I don't know what effect that have on planets.
I don't know, but it perhaps just affects like if particular planets, if they pair off into relationships, then you can maybe bring out those dodgy astrological readings or something and have that affect the game in some way.
Well, I was thinking that if it had branching paths, then the astrological signs could serve as a way to kind of, I guess, dope the random number generator so that things turn out a little bit differently each time you play the game. So if you choose maybe a star sign at the start of the game, and it sort of changes the way the game plays out.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it could even be, that's maybe what you're aiming for as well, something around the planets in a certain alignment or configuration.
And maybe it's up to you to try to manipulate it so certain planets end up together, and that's their alignment or configuration.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'm going to hide this sort of smelly gym sock in Saturn's locker so that this other planet doesn't like it.
Yeah. I like the idea of gravitational pull having an effect as well. So for some reason, even though Jupiter is this big bully, everyone's really attracted to them. And just, Pluto has no friends.
No.
Or nobody's into Pluto. That kind of makes sense, because like Saturn would have a lot of attraction.
Well, it's almost as large. Well, not almost as, but large-ish.
Yeah. And does that mean everyone's crushing on the teacher then, on the principal?
Yeah, probably.
That's cool. All right, I really like that idea. That's fun. Let's click again. Go another one. All right, 3, 2, 1, and click.
I have roaring.
I have shattering.
Roaring, shattering.
Very active words there. You know what? I picture this. My mind went to a VR game where one of your mechanics is yelling or roaring just to like shatter windows, shatter glass.
Yep.
I guess that's almost a Skyrim kind of shout sort of thing.
Yeah, you would need to be hooking like a headset onto your VR thing. That has a microphone.
Yeah, so it needs an actual microphone, and it measures how loud you're yelling, and that's sort of the force of these primal roars. Like those Phoenix Wright games where you'd have to shout objection at your DS on the train in front of everybody if you were playing. Exactly. So I don't know what. I'm trying to think what in game you would be needing, like why you'd need to be shattering glass.
I sort of hesitate to go back to Japan again, but a lot of Japanese fighting anime has people shouting out the names of their attacks before they do them.
That's true. So maybe a bit of a sort of turn-based attacking sort of thing where how loud you yell.
We did just get a Fist of the North Star game was announced recently. So
is that I don't know anything about anime games, but is that I assume that's that sort of thing. Lots of yelling, lots of roaring, and things shattering.
Yeah. It's like this big muscly dude that kind of walks a post-apocalyptic planet, and he kind of just shouts the names of his attacks before he does them.
Right, cool. Yeah, okay, I like that. And particularly in VR, there'd be something about doing those sorts of attacks. So combining, and actually we had a similar game to this last week where you were doing weather-based yelling to create weather attacks. But this could be a similar sort of thing, but broader, where you have your certain attacks, and the voice recognition combined with how much you clip your microphone basically determines what attacks you do and how powerful they are.
So if I put a compressor between my microphone and the game, is that cheating?
Yeah. I'm sure you could game the system a little bit, but.
So you were talking about a turn-based game, and I kind of went straight for a fighting game. Are we looking at, say, something like XCOM turn-based, or? Yeah,
I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess a fighting game. I don't know how well a fighting game would work in VR. I guess I was thinking. Yeah, because you mentioned like the sort of Japanese fighting games, I was thinking almost a Pokemon sort of thing where you're yelling out the attacks that someone else is doing almost.
Right, so we're doing the Final Fantasy style turn-based combat.
Yeah, that's sort of where my mind went with that. But yeah, from a VR perspective, so you're right down there in the battle, and there can be a bit of like throwing out your creatures or something perhaps, and
so where does the shattering come into it? Do you just shout so loud sometimes that the thing you're fighting just explodes?
That's the end game. I think also just a lot of the arenas have mirrors and windows and just for aesthetics,
It would be interesting if your roaring was in a directional line and certain tiles were breakable, and as a result you could make parts of the arena inaccessible.
Oh, that'd be cool. Like you can, that'd be a really interesting sort of strategic thing to bring to a game like that. And the VR would work well with the immersion because you can kind of look around and see, oh, wait, all right, there's a pillar there and a pillar there, and there are the supports. So instead of attacking them this round, I'm going to like yell in that direction and send out this blast wave to hopefully take the whole thing down on top of them.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I like that idea a lot.
Environmental attacks.
Yeah. But having that really play a big part. So yeah, like one of the levels you have a glass ceiling or something, and if you hit it enough times or with enough force, it'll shatter down on top of them and do damage.
Yeah, I guess the sort of the trope on those sort of things in Japanese RPGs is that you have to hit that thing so many times during the combat, but your shout takes rounds to survive and to recharge, and you have to survive in between the recharge period.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. My mind did just go off on a completely different tangent, although maybe we could bring it in. Thinking of basketball backboards and how how loud you yell as you dunk a basketball.
I thought you were going to like road rage and just shouting at other people in cars.
There's endless possibilities for this combination of words.
There's precedent for it. I played an Oculus Rift VR demo that was a reverse parking simulator, so already well represented on the car front there.
Yeah. They probably didn't take into account your yelling, but that's it. We just make the yelling part of the gameplay.
When I missed parking, there was lots of yelling.
Oh, I'm sure you were yelling. Yeah. Now we just need the game to actually pick that up and make use of it. So yeah, I like this game, and I guess we just have one of the arenas is in a basketball rink, and one of the arenas you're fighting while reverse parking. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Actually, two people fighting over who's able to reverse park into the same spot.
Yeah, that's it. One of them ends up just shouting the other one away and destroying their entire car. But
kind of like beating up the car in Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter. Again, just another level. It's just you against the car, and you're just there yelling at a car. Who doesn't want a game where you are in VR yelling at a car? Can't think of anything better.
And everyone's watching you going, what's that guy yelling at? And you actually, with this game, you'd probably need like a glass box that you stand in that's soundproof while doing it.
Just to play it, so you don't piss off your neighbours. Perfect. All right, let's click again. 3, 2, 1, click. Washroom.
Flue, as in the chimney flue.
Okay. I'm not sure many washrooms have a chimney flue.
No.
I guess the smell. Maybe for the smell.
I'm getting there was a game like what was it called? It was Silent Hill 4 had a thing where a guy was trapped in his apartment, but every now and then holes would open in the walls and he'd go out to different places, and I'm sort of getting that, like trapped in a bathroom, but a chimney flue opens up and you sort of leave for a while and go to another world, and then eventually end up getting trapped back in the bathroom again. But the bathrooms change slightly based on your adventures. It's starting to sound like a very Cyan Worlds game, like Myst or Riven or something. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because my mind with those two things went to Harry Potter. Oh, okay. Because there are transportation systems both in chimneys and I'm pretty sure in toilets at one point.
Oh, okay.
In Harry Potter, I'm not sure if you're a fan or not, but
I have read probably the first 2 books and seen the first 2 movies. My wife is a huge fan, so I have awareness of it beyond those things that I just mentioned.
Right. I'm pretty sure there was a toilet toilet transport. But anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically Harry Potter, but that could almost play into what you're talking about there with sort of transporting you in and out of this washroom. That's sort of you just find yourself waking up in this washroom. And
okay, well if it's going to be transport, then I was thinking more of something like Cities in Motion, where you're building a transport network for a city, but it's a magical transport network for wizards, so you're linking up toilets in different places and linking up flues and
okay, that would be really fun. Maybe not an entire city, maybe just like a building or a set of buildings, like one of those kind of tower building games. Where often you have to build the elevators and like link up the electricity and stuff. But yeah, you have to hook up the toilets.
Yes.
And the chimneys, but they still have to function as toilets and chimneys.
Yes. Well, I was thinking more that something just to like Cities in Motion is that it actually costs you money, or it costs you whatever the magical equivalent of money is to hook these things up. So you need to recoup it somehow. So you'd have to hire conductors to stand out the front of the toilet and collect the tickets from people.
I really like that idea. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm thinking. I mean, the first thing I'm thinking is what happens when the conductor or the person presses the wrong button, and instead of transporting themselves through the pipes, just shit comes flying out of it and covers them. But I mean, that can just be one of the things. If you have to hire people, you have to hire your little conductors, and if they're not very good at their job, then that happens more and more often.
Yeah, well, I was thinking you could even cheap out on the materials that you use to build it, and then you've got a certain percentage chance of something happening, like little in-game events, like SimCity's disasters that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
It's like we wanted to transfer this person to the library, and instead we opened up a portal to another dimension.
Minus one person from your building, and
well, then you have to hire a whole bunch of wizards and witches to sort of try to drive the creatures back through the portal and close it.
Oh, right. It overruns your building, and that's cool. Yeah. Well, I was thinking a bit simpler, just along the lines of, well, throughout your toilet network, you can either build one set of pipes or two sets of pipes, and if you cheap out and only build one set of pipes, then literally the people and the poo just go through the same pipe. So people will use it still, but they're not going to be very happy at the other end.
Yeah, they're probably not going to be paying much in the way of fares for that.
No, well. Exactly. To make them a little bit happier, you can put a shower at each end, and
sure.
It just becomes standard that long trips, it's like economy versus first class, right? A long trip, you're going to end up at least spending some time in actual toilet pipes.
Yeah, well, you have to have your sort of coach level and your first class level.
Exactly. What do you mean you don't want to be covered in shit when you reach your destination? That'll be 3 times the price. Exactly. And I'm picturing similar things with chimneys. It's not quite as disgusting to end up covered in soot, but if you go into an important meeting. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me when you would play roller coaster tycoon and you would build a roller coaster that just ejected people sort of off into the distance, and someone coming flying out of a chimney where you haven't quite finished it properly and it doesn't link up to anything.
Well, again, I'm kind of picturing, you get your chimney pipes crossed, and instead of reforming at their destination, they just get puffed out into the sky as smoke.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah.
They're sort of introducing death into the game there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think your rating just went up from G to MA 15 plus.
Just a bloody mist.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really fun. I like the idea of alternate transportation in one of those types of games. I really love those. I really love the idea of those sort of transportation building games or city building games, but I get bored so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I'm terrible at them, but I always end up playing them I'll play them for like 6 hours straight. I'll just be addicted to it for that time and then never pick it up again.
Yeah, I gave up on City Skylines once my traffic got way too bad to reasonably solve.
Yeah, me too.
Except just by deleting roads so that people wouldn't use them and then putting them back in, and that's how I solved traffic issues.
Yep, I started about 6 cities, finally got one to a size where traffic was basically the major issue, and then never played it again.
Yeah, I've got towers full of dead bodies because the hearses can't get through the streets to pick them up after they die. So.
Well, at least in our game, they can just shove them in the chimney, and they'll go out, they'll just become smoke.
Well, there's your next level of gameplay, transporting things other than people.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's freight transportation as well.
You're getting into Transport Tycoon Deluxe there, where you've got multiple modes of transport. Yep.
Yeah, you get paid for taking things from one to the other.
Yep, some guy just trying to shove an elephant into a chimney.
You just start investing in larger and larger fireplaces and toilets, I guess. All right, let's click again. 3, 2, 1, click. Enclosure.
Betrothal.
Betrothal in enclosure.
You two are going to get in that box until one of you agrees to marry the other one.
My mind went to zoos. So maybe it's sort of a. Well, I don't want to go down the dating sim thing again. We've already done that. But something around zoos and some sort of marriage.
You're having a zoo that's in a very, I guess, religious area, and the people there aren't comfortable if the animals are in a relationship and aren't married. Yeah,
or living together and haven't tied the knot.
So you have to perform weddings for zoo animals.
So let's go. That's good. Let's go with that.
It kind of reminds me of an old Lionhead game called the Movies, where you would make movies, and I sort of had the idea that you would have to design the ceremony in such a way that it would please both the animals and the people who wanted them to be married.
Okay, so it's actually like a wedding planning game, wedding planner game, but for zoo animals. Now, What happens if two animals of different species want to marry? Is that acceptable, or it just depends? Maybe it depends on what level you're in and how religious these people are.
I'm not sure about that. The animals might have to elope, but that might mean getting married sort of outside the zoo or something like that.
Well, one of them is an antelope, so they're really good at eloping. Sorry, it's terrible. Yeah, okay. So we're planning a wedding for zoo animals. What sort of things are involved? You have to make sure that the flowers that you get aren't tasty to the animals that are coming, at least aren't poisonous to the guests or the bride and groom themselves. Yeah,
you would probably have to choose sort of decorations that are appropriate. You would have to make allowances for each animal's side of the family.
Yes, yep.
And with some animals, it's not really a family tree. It's more like a family shrub that just goes around and around and around. So it really doesn't matter what side they sit on in that case.
No.
Because you could be related to anybody.
Well, and also they're in a zoo. They've all been bred in there for generations. So
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm thinking you start with a budget and here's the bride and the groom and their requirements. And yeah, you go shopping.
Yeah, and you could probably charge people in the zoo for admission to the wedding, like regular zoo goers. And depending on the ceremony you design, you make a certain amount of money, and that allows you to spend more on the next one until you've got fireworks and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say. So really, you got to spend money on the spectacle of it all. And I would think that the types of animals getting married would play a part in that because.
Yeah.
Particularly if it isn't interspecies sort of marriage, because there's just going to be the curiosity factor of how exactly is that going to work? How is that elephant going to marry that snake?
Yes. You may run into an issue where you need a large spectacle to bring the people into the zoo to pay to go to the wedding, but the couple does not want a large spectacle of a wedding. So you kind of have to balance those two things out where they get the wedding they want, but you still make enough money to continue your enclosure betrothal business.
Right. Well, I like the idea there of having to do something like, how they have to sometimes, like with the gorilla enclosure at a zoo, sort of you can't get too close to the glass and that sort of thing, or you have certain viewing positions. So yeah, it really comes down to you actually have an element of your enclosure design as well for where the wedding is going to take place, as to sort of where the zoo goers can watch from. Yeah, I like that.
This is really weird.
I'd play it. Totally.
Yeah, probably.
Actually, it's another one of those games that I'd play for 6 hours and then never pick up again. But hey, I still paid money for it. We'll make money off this one. Cool. All right, let's do another. Let's move on. I like the ideas we've been coming up with tonight.
They've been pretty good. Okay,
policewoman.
Plunge.
Okay, plunge.
You have to be careful with this one.
Perhaps not only is she a policewoman, but she's a successful plumber.
Yeah, or a skydiving instructor. Or...
Yeah. Oh, I like the idea of arresting people by skydiving on top of them.
Oh, okay.
That'd be kind of a cool little sort of arcadey type of game. Where, you literally do play this policewoman but you start every round up in a helicopter with some high-powered binoculars.
Yes.
And as soon as you spot a crime on the ground, you just jump.
Yep. Kanye West's Power starts playing as you jump out of the helicopter.
Yeah, totally. Every single time, it's epic. And it's all about your movement as you're going through the air, when you pull your ripcord and deploy your parachute. The later the better, as long as you land accurately. Something needs to break your fall, potentially the criminal.
Yes.
if not a handily placed dumpster, but you won't get quite as many points.
There was a mini game in Saints Row 2 where you had to parachute out, or Saints Row 3, you had to parachute out of a plane and land in the sunroof of a car.
Nice.
That was driving around.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the levels.
It's that crossed with a reckless disregard for gravity, I think, is probably...
Yeah, basically, you want that real sensation of speed as you're going down, having to dodge things. I'm not sure how many. I mean, I guess it's just a very heavily trafficked area of the sky.
Yeah, well, I think that if the criminals knew that you were onto them, they might send people up after you with like jetpacks or something like that. Oh,
definitely. You start the game and you're just sort of going after low-level criminals, and you see someone, grab someone's handbag and you go down and stop them. You see someone, you move up to robbing banks, and that's the level where you get the highest amount of points if you land in the sunroof. And then you start getting into super villain territory, and they have henchmen with jetpacks and just firing up at you, and that's really cool. Dodging rockets on your way down, shooting henchmen out of the sky.
You can kind of have to go through things that sort of refill your ammo and things like that.
Yeah, a real arcade sort of experience.
Yeah. That would probably be a VR title as well.
I was literally about to say that same thing. Then just to really pump up the experience, we make it VR.
Right. Only sell it to people who have a fear of heights.
Yeah. We do tend to do a disproportionate number of VR titles on this game. I'm not sure if it's just because we're super into it, or if there's just a lot of room to be explored there in the gaming space. But it's fun.
It seems to be a magnet for strange ideas.
Definitely. So 3, 2, 1, and click.
Boarding.
Sorry, what was it?
Boarding, as in boarding pass, or boarding a plane or a boat.
I got odometer.
This is going to be a hard one.
So it's about distance, right? It's about distance travelled.
And boarding could be skateboarding or wakeboarding or...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or some kind of sort of future skateboarding or extreme sport that we have not yet defined.
Well, it's future skateboarding, but the only difference is your skateboard has an odometer on it to tell you how far it's travelled.
It's not how good the tricks you can do is, it's how far you can go.
That's it, without falling off.
Yes.
Well, this is the thing. We haven't had a good skateboarding game in a long time.
Yeah. I'm never really much into skateboarding games, so I'll probably have to take your word for that.
No, you didn't get into the old Tony Hawk or anything like that?
No, I was primarily a PC player back then, so...
Okay, fair enough. That was my early console days, but the original Tony Hawk on the original PlayStation is definitely still one of the better skateboarding games. They did experiment with some stuff with Skate on the Xbox.
Yep.
And you actually had to use your thumbsticks for doing tricks and things. It was kind of neat. So I'm just trying to think how we can basically take skateboarding games to the next level and having it have something to do with odometers.
I could imagine a post-apocalyptic career game where there's no petrol left, so people rely on bicycles and skateboards to get around, and you're having to travel a great distance from one place to another to deliver things. That's
pretty awesome. I like the ideas you come up with. I like the idea of like sort of the same sort of similar sort of mechanics around skateboarding and maybe bike riding. The only bike riding I can think of is in like Grand Theft Auto and stuff, which works okay.
Bike riding in the original DayZ mod was absolutely hilarious because bikes would spawn very seldomly, and you would just be walking through the forest with a gun and then looking for zombies or hiding from zombies or hiding from people, and this dude would come shooting past you on a bicycle, ringing the bell. He'd be gone.
With a horde of zombies after him.
Gone before you could shoot him.
That's awesome. Well, maybe we could go for a similar sort of feeling of that.
I could imagine a thing like was that Stephen King story about that there was a kind of a race, and it was about who could go the longest without collapsing. This could be something similar, as that you sort of start in a city and there's a route, but it's really long, and the person who wins is the person who goes the longest before collapsing or being forced to stop, and you've got like an odometer embedded into your hand, like say Logan's Run or something like that. You
really fleshed that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. I'm just trying to think of just the sort of general gameplay around it. Like, is it just a racing game sort of thing, or is there some sort of persistence to your character?
I imagine it would be like player unknown battlegrounds, but rather than sort of trying to shoot people, you're trying to get the furthest. But there are ways that you can stop other people or slow them down, or.
Okay, so there's still weapons in the game, perhaps, and it's a bit of a free for all. Maybe so. Maybe we're just talking player unknown battlegrounds, and there's one bike.
I was thinking more allowing for you to change the environment to hinder other players rather than directly attacking.
Oh,
them.
okay. So you can kind of corral them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, if you're working together with some other people, then you can. It's like, there's the guy. He's got the bike. We know that he's going to have to go this way, so we'll force him to come over here. We'll take him out, and then it's a free for all as the rest of the people go for the bike. Yeah, I could see this as a player unknown battleground sort of thing. Maybe it's that you find yourself in a city and there's a nuke coming.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, literally the goal is to get as far away from the city as possible. I feel like the only bad thing about that is it's almost the opposite of PlayerUnknown's Unknown Battlegrounds, actually, because in PUBG everyone is going to end up in the one spot.
Yes.
And in this game everyone starts in the one spot and then moves away from each other. So I don't know how well it would actually work.
You could sort of balance it out with bikes and skateboards being slower, but the roads are so choked with cars that sort of cars are relatively useless unless you can get a good long stretch of road that nobody else is using.
Well, that's it. So you could balance that out in a way with the vehicles. So yeah, like if you get out of that beginning scrum, I get a sense of Hunger Games about it as well. I don't know if you remember the beginning of the Hunger Games where they all just run for the weapons and then sort of run off and hide and start scheming. But yeah, it could be a little bit like that. So yeah, you could just run. You could run from the beginning and just run the whole game and hope that everyone else just takes everyone out and you get the furthest away before this nuke comes. But yeah, like other people then might get vehicles like skateboards and bikes and catch up with you. So you're taking a risk there.
Yeah. That sounds good. I would probably actually play that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's actually turned into something kind of fun. And yeah, you just have to make the environments work well enough. Like, I think this would work better in a city sort of environment. Obviously, an open map like PUBG, you are just gonna, if you're literally running away from one position, you can end up not seeing anyone after the first 2 minutes. But if you could set it in something that's where there are pathways and bottlenecks and different ways through, but that are sort of predetermined in some way. So you can cut people off. And
yeah, I imagine that you would have like the highways and the freeways and the footpaths, and then you may also have like what are those things they have in Los Angeles that are in Grand Theft Auto? The sort of large waterways that cut through the middle of the city, sort of underneath everything. Yeah. I forget what they're called.
I don't know. I mean, there are canals. I don't think they call them
things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So depending on the map that you're in. You'd have certain positions where you know people are going to have to come through there. So you can either try to be the first people to get through there, or you can set up some sort of barricade and just take people out before they get too far. You could steal a truck and then park it across all the lanes of traffic and then stab all of the tires on it and then just drive off on the other side. Exactly. But the whole time there's this countdown to the nuke coming, so you have to leave enough time and an escape path, and hopefully have some sort of vehicle perhaps on hand. Yeah. To know that you're going to get out to the safe zone. Yep. That's cool. That's a fun twist on that, actually. All right. Well, I think let's do one more click pitch and then we'll jump into our final segment. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1, and click. Allotment. Beheading. God. I like these combinations we're coming up with tonight, actually. They've got so many different places we can take them. I would imagine you're ruling a kingdom and you are beheading dissidents, but you're only allowed to behead a certain number of them over a certain amount of time. So you have to choose which ones you think are going to cause the most trouble for you. Is that just like sort of part of the laws of the land, or is it that they will rise up and take you out if you? I think either you could have like a discontent meter where the public gets sick of your constantly killing people. So you have to be careful which ones you choose. Okay, so that's interesting because you'd really have to get a sense of the populace and even some of the specific people.
Yes.
So I wonder how that would play out.
Kind of like a Crusader Kings 2 type thing.
Okay, I never played those. Is that was the sort of city, like castle builders sort of thing?
Not really. It's kind of like a family and dynasty simulator.
Okay.
And you sort of can't control too much directly. You have to divest power to vassals and people like that, but that means you have to trust them, not to like poison you in your sleep.
Interesting. Okay, so so you do have to sort of really have a sense of these people who are underneath you in your sort of hierarchy there. Yeah, that's cool. I kind of got a sense of, actually got a little bit of Papers, Please, interestingly, just in the sense of you're kind of up there on your throne and you have people coming by each day asking you questions and different things.
Is this another VR game where you sit on a throne and there's a camera and
Sure.
you have to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Yes. That's perfect, actually. Every now and then you go to the Colosseum and you get to do that for the actual, thumbs down for the gladiators.
Fights.
Yeah, gladiatorial combat. That's how you can use up your whole allotment at once if you want. No, I like that. I like that idea of a VR. Yeah, I think we've done a VR sort of Papers, Please game before, but definitely not in this sort of sense. And again, it's one of those games that would work really well for the immersion of VR. Looking to your left and seeing your kind of little, whatever, your second in command, or I don't know, there's a word for that person, but call in the jester when you get bored.
Yes. I would imagine that the gladiatorial games would act as a way to get extra kills if you can sort of manipulate it so the people you don't like are in the gladiatorial games. Nobody cares whether or not you thumbs up or thumbs down on somebody who's sort of already fighting in these fights, but if you do it to somebody who's just in your throne room, then people start to get upset. So you've got to kind of manipulate it behind the scenes that they end up in there somehow.
That's a really good point. You can get them into the gladiatorial combat, and then you don't have to use up your allotment of beheadings to take them out to sort of stop their mischief.
Yeah, well, you would need a bunch of other things as well. Like if you decided to say go down to the gladiatorial games and fight them yourself, then you could maybe get the crowd onto your side, and maybe get back some of those points that you'd already used. Okay, so
I like the idea that
we're basically making Gladiator the video game.
Well, I just like the idea that the better you are doing as a king, and the higher your sort of popularity rating, the higher the allotment they give you to behead behead people in the populace. Just not really kind of advocating for their own themselves there, but they're just like, he's doing pretty well. He can behead a few guys. He only beheads the bad people, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you're making sure there's enough gladiatorial games and enough food and
to keep
water.
them happy, and you can lower the taxes.
Yep.
You lower the taxes by a few bucks because you really want to take out this one this one troublemaker.
Yeah, this is pretty much Gladiator in VR with splashings of Crusader Kings 2.
Cool. I like it. All right. Well, I think we will move on to our final segment. So what I'm going to do here, Anthony, is I'm going to ask you what game you are most anticipating at the moment.
Oh.
It could be one that's already out and you haven't got around to playing, or one that's upcoming, but yeah.
Oh, I don't really have any idea what's actually coming out. Very recently, I bought the expansion for XCOM 2, which I have not yet played, really. And I'm really looking forward to getting into that.
Does that have a title, that expansion?
I believe it's called War of the Chosen.
Okay. So what we do with this segment is we take the name of that game and we throw away everything you know about it in the series, and we're going to come up with a new game literally just based off the name of that game.
Okay. Well,
so XCOM 2 War of the Chosen.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing we have to do is perhaps come up with what XCOM stands for in this game.
Great. This is not going to be very difficult with a lot of preconceived notions.
Yeah, no, it needs to be something completely different. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of words starting with X.
Well, that could be worth starting with EX, so excommunicated if you are removed from the church.
Okay, well, that kind of makes sense with War of the Chosen as well, a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, that's interesting, if not fraught with difficulty on how to make a game about religion without offending people, but it doesn't. I guess it doesn't have to literally be a real religion. It could just be a made-up religion.
Yeah, well, there was a game that came out, I believe, in the 90s called Requiem Avenging Angel, where you played as an angel that came to Earth and hunted down these things called the Chosen that were masquerading as people.
Okay. Well, this is XCOM 2, so maybe it's a spiritual sequel to that game. So excommunicate. Come on, man. There you go. He's just over it.
Does this mean that we have to design the first game too, or?
No. Well, we'll just pretend there was a previous game.
Gradually, it will just get more ridiculous.
That's it. Like we'll come up with this game, and then because it's the sequel, we'll just really ramp everything up to the next level. So I like that idea. So we're sticking with the Avenging Angel coming down.
Yeah, that's sort of kind of already been done in another game. So maybe we should choose something a little bit different. That might be a little bit too easy, unless we want to go easy on ourselves.
No. Like, come on, let's make it a challenge.
I would imagine that sort of War of the Chosen would indicate like sex with SECTS within a within a religion fighting
within a religion.
Yeah, and as you say, it doesn't have to be any of the major religions. It can be a completely made up one.
Yeah, and I think it probably should be.
Yeah.
So maybe it's sort of there's these sects, there's these factions, some who have determined that they are the chosen of this religion, and then is it one person who's being excommunicated, or is it that the group who doesn't think these people are the chosen now, like they've been excommunicated from this religion?
It might be an RTS, and you would have two factions, and one is the people who are the members of the religion, and the other one was a group of people who have been excommunicated and have splintered off and said, we are the one true, we have the chosen. No, we have the chosen. Right.
Okay. So a religion-based RTS.
Maybe an RTS is a bit too obvious, because then it's starting to sound a little bit like Dawn of War or something like that.
I guess they're pretty religious in that, but I'm kind of picturing. I'm kind of picturing that we literally bring kind of prayers and the power of the gods into it.
Yeah. So black and white or populace.
Yeah, but more direct than that, right? Like you're not playing the god,
right?
And so you have to build churches to
I see,
please your god, so that they will help you on the battlefield. And
well, the thing is, it would be the same god, because it's the same religion that the two people are splintered off from. So you kind of have to push the needle more in your direction.
Yeah, well, that's it. So you're fighting over, this god's, attention.
Yep. But it may not just be a combat-based thing. There may be non-combat things you can do to sort of push the needle more in your direction, like building a church or sacrificing animals or...
So maybe it's a bit more of one of these... Did you ever play, like, Settlers? Or what was the other one? Shit.
Is it Age of Mythology?
No, that was a bit more traditional RTS. I'm thinking of... Nope, I've lost it.
Banished or Northgard?
Sort of like Banished, but with combat still.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more of you're building up the economy of this city or of this civilization in a way, except it's it's a it's a faith-based economy in certain ways, and using that to power your armies, which then will go off and fight.
Yeah, I would also imagine a front line, but the more faith you generate, the more the front line pushes out from your city, kind of like in Civilization with cultural borders. So if you're fighting in a particular area where the culture border has pushed out, you get a bonus versus the enemy's troops.
Yeah, well, I kind of like the idea of still having an aspect of real-time strategy in there, though. So you really do end up deploying, like, smite this, squad from the other team, as well as traditional. I don't know if we keep it kind of medieval warfare, or if we literally bring it into modern day. It's kind of getting a bit like these holy warriors with submachine guns.
Yeah, modern day would definitely be more like we've seen Populous, we've seen Black and White. So I was thinking modern day, or even Far Future or Alien or something like that might be a little bit sort of more. Hasn't been done to death quite yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, particularly not with that kind of faith-based twist. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Just trying to think if there's anything else we can do with that.
Well, sort of basing it in a city, you would have like large buildings and things like that. If you were fighting over a city, the map may be generated from pre-populated buildings that did things, and if you could get control of them, they would confer a bonus or give you a unit that you wouldn't already have. Or
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, particularly, obviously, and you're building churches and things, and so your proximity to the church has an effect on the powers you can deploy. Or the morale of your troops, since they're all these, completely religious-based fighters.
Yep, we've just designed a religious-themed RTS.
Yeah, basically. But it's not blasphemous. It's okay because we made up the religion. Yeah, it's fine.
Insert name of religion here.
Exactly.
Actually, that would be a fun thing if at the start of the game both players agreed to kind of like a random religious generation where you generated the main tenets of the faith that you were fighting over.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you come up with the name and like the hierarchy of people involved and the types of hats they wear, the colours of their robes. Well, that'd probably split out between the factions. That's actually what started it. Started it all. So no, this hat is more holy.
Exactly.
No, I like this hat.
We want the blue robes with the gold trimming.
No, that's blasphemous.
It says right here that blue and gold should never be next to each other.
That's just your translation. Our translation says it's blue and silver.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, I think we might finish that up there. I think I come up with some really interesting ideas.
Some really
tonight.
weird stuff.
It's always weird, but as long as they sound like they might be fun to play, that was cool. I think there was some really neat ideas in there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll finish up there. Thank you, listeners, for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'll just do a little bit of our housekeeping. You can find Bitstorm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BitstormCast on all of those social networks. Come and say hi, and we actually have a new Facebook group. You can just search for Bitstorm on Facebook, or you can go to facebook.com/groups/Bitstorm. And every Friday now, we're actually putting up a new listener click pitch where we throw our ideas in there, but the idea is that you listeners at home can play along and tell us the sorts of games that you come up with for a particular set of prompts. If you want to find us on iTunes, you can just search Bitstorm there, give us a rating or review, subscribe to us there. We have a website, bitstormcast.com, and all of our episodes are there too. I'd like to thank Kuradust for the song Mount Defiance off the album Containment Failure. Geez, I've got a lot of stuff to do when it's just me. I'd like to say hi to the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network, of which the Semicast is also part. Just a great group of other gaming podcasts in the region. So go check that out on Facebook or hashtag AGPN on Twitter. We are also on Podchaser, which is the site that I made, which is handy. So just search for Bitstorm there, and you can leave ratings and reviews for us there too. That'd be great. And this week we have one new thing I'd like to mention, that in October we're going to be part of the 2 Pods a Day Twitter campaign. This is a campaign sort of exposing different podcasts of different genres and things, and every day they publish two new podcasts to listen to with specific episodes and a bit of feedback from everyone involved. So go check out the hashtag 2 Pods a Day for their previous campaigns, and look for that in October. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. Would you like to sort of give your social medias and things to see where our listeners can find you?
We basically direct everyone to our website, worldwideweb.semi-informatic.com, and there you can find all of our podcast episodes and videos and whatever's coming up on the site. It's just me at the moment, so you're kind of stuck with me. We've got what we call a play everything video, which is where we just go through and play everything of Thief the Dark Project, and hopefully soon I will be getting back to a series I've been doing called Dial A for Anime, which is where I play through all the anime games I bought for my PS3 but never played. So
Perfect. Well, that was a much more efficient use of getting people to you. But anyway, well, that was really good to have you on, Anthony. Thank you for that.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, for joining us. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Anthony Murphy.
I'd play that.